Hello, hi everyone, good afternoon. So let's start with our today's lesson, that is equations of motion. In the last class we have derived all the three equations and today we are going to learn how to use them. What is the real use of those equations of motion? So before we start, let me tell you about myself. So I have a PhD in physics from Singapore, BSMS dual degree from ISA Pune, and I was ranker in JEE and KPI. Alright, so hi Sanjay, Spectrum Physics, and Pallavi. Hi everyone, let's start. So these are the three equations of motion. We have derived them from the graph. Okay, so here there is one assumption, that is the acceleration here, acceleration is constant. So these equations are valid when the acceleration is uniform, it is not changing with time. Hi Shubham, good afternoon. So whenever you see a situation in which acceleration is constant or uniform, constant, or you can say it is a uniform acceleration. When the acceleration is uniform, then you can use this equation. So what are these? V is the final velocity, U is the initial velocity, A is the acceleration, T is the time, then S is the displacement. Okay, again U is the initial velocity, time. So this is called as velocity time relationship. Then the second one, this is called as distance time or displacement time relationship. And the third one, there is a velocity and distance or velocity and displacement relationship. Hi Venzi, Divyansh. So just say hi everyone so that I'll know you are watching. Divyansh, Venzi, Shubham, Pallavi, Spectrum, Sanjay, good afternoon everyone. Let's begin. Now today we are going to solve lot of numerical questions. So I'll give you the question and after that I'll give you, let's say, 30 seconds to 1 minute. You have the time to solve. If not, then we'll start solving together. Hi Sanchit, Joshua. Hi Joshua. Great. So read the question. The brakes applied to a car, it produces the acceleration of this much in the opposite direction of motion. So brakes are applied. So when you apply the brakes, what happens? The speed of the car, does it increase or decrease? Speed of the car decreases, correct? So if the speed is reducing, this is nothing but our retardation. So retardation meaning acceleration would be minus 6 meter per second square. Okay. Now if the car takes 2 seconds to stop, so what will happen? The final velocity of the car is 0 and time taken is 2 seconds. So car is going to stop after 2 seconds. After application of brake, calculate the distance it travels during this time. So we want to calculate what is the distance it is going to travel. So let's solve. Who can solve? And tell me, which equation can you use? Can you use the first equation, second equation, third equation? We want to find the displacement. Displacement is there in the second and third equation. But if you look at the second and the third equation, in the second equation we have this term. In the third equation we have this term, initial velocity or initial speed, and we don't know the initial speed, correct? So we cannot use second and third equation directly. First, we need to use the first equation to find out the initial speed. So we have to use the first equation. What is the first equation? V is equal to U plus AT. Now look here, we know the final velocity, we know the acceleration and we know the time. So there is only one variable, which is only one unknown, that is the initial velocity. So you can calculate. So how will you calculate? Substitute v is 0 is equal to u plus what is acceleration? Minus 6. Acceleration is minus 6 times what is t? It is 2. So the initial velocity u will come out to be 6 into 2, which is 12 meters per second. Now once you calculate the initial speed, you can now use both the equations. You can use the second equation as well as third equation. So let's try using both the equations. Let's suppose if you use the second equation, so here let's suppose we use second and here we use the third equation of motion. Okay. Now if you use the second equation, what is the second equation? S is equal to ut plus half a t square. Substitute all the values, answer is 12 meter. Okay, Divyansh, S is u is 12, 12 into what is the time? Time is 2. 12 into 2 plus 1 by 2, what is acceleration? It is minus 6, time is 2 whole square. So 12 into 2 is 24, then there is a minus sign here, minus 6 divided by 2, 2 square is 4. So it's 24 minus 24 divided by 2, which is 12. So this is 12 meters. So distance traveled is 12 meters. Pallavi, how did you get 16? Maybe check your calculations. You must have done some mistake somewhere. So just check all the steps. Instead of second equation, let's suppose if you use a third equation, can we get the same answer? Let's find out. So the third equation is v square is equal to u square plus 2 times a into s. This is the third equation, correct? So what is v? V is 0, u is 12. So substitute that, v is 0, u is 12 square plus 2 times what is a? A is minus 6 multiplied by s. Yes? So you can simplify this. So 0 is equal to 12 square minus 6 into 2 is 12 times s. So what is the value of s? S is simply, you take this 12 square, so this 12 square divided by 12, which is simply 12 meters. So distance travel is 12 meters. So you can use second equation or the third equation and you should get the same answer. So that is the beauty of these equations of motion. You did a mistake? Alright. You can use whichever equation you want, but you should get the same answer. Alright. So now let's go to the second question. I told you in the beginning, I'll give 1 minute for each question or 30 seconds depending on the question, and then we'll solve together. So solve this. Okay, I'll read the question. Bus is starting from rest, moves with a uniform acceleration of this much. So whenever it is said uniform acceleration or constant acceleration, that means we can use the equations of motion, okay, for 2 minutes and find these two quantities. So let's write down what are the known quantities. Starting from rest, that means the initial velocity is 0, then the acceleration is 0.1, acceleration is 0.1 meter per second square, time is 2 minutes, time is 2 minutes. 2 minutes is how many seconds? 60 multiplied by 2, which is 60 multiplied by 2 is 120 seconds. Yes, nice Pallavi, correct. You are 12 meter per second, nice, great. So we want to find the speed acquired, that is the final velocity, and distance traveled, the distance traveled. So let's find out. Okay, we can use, let's suppose, first equation. First equation says v is equal to u plus a t. What is u? U is 0 plus what is a? A is 0.1 times what is t? T is 2 minutes, which is 120 seconds. So that will come out to be 0.1 multiplied by 120. It is simply 12 meters per second. So this is the final velocity. What did it mean? What is your question? Acceleration is the minus sign. Okay. If the acceleration is negative, that means there is a retardation. Whenever you get acceleration as negative, it means it is opposing the motion. Okay. That is a retardation. Remember that. So if the acceleration is positive, so if this car is moving in this direction, if I apply the force in the same direction, what will happen? The speed of the car will increase. That is a positive acceleration. But let's suppose if the car is moving in this direction and I oppose the motion, so car will slow down. So that is the retardation or negative acceleration. Nice, Shubham. Great. You got 720. Okay, Sanchit. Let's find out. So now let's use the second equation. S is equal to ut plus half a t square. So what is u? U is 0. So the first term is simply 0 plus 1 by 2. What is acceleration? It is 0.1 multiplied by time, which is 120. So 120 whole square. Okay, let's find out now. So this is 0. So this is 1 by 2 multiplied by 0.1 is 1 by 10. This is multiplied by 120 into 120. Yes. So here, let's simplify further. You can cancel these zeros. So 2 into 6. So what should be the answer? 12 into 6 is 72. 720, these many meters. So that is the distance traveled. How will we know which equation to use? Okay, so I'll tell you the trick how to know which equation to use. First, write down these quantities. Write down what are the things that you know. Okay, so in an equation, find out. Write down these things, then write down all the three equations. For example, I'll write all the three equations here. First equation is v is equal to u plus at. Second equation is s is equal to ut plus half at square. And third equation is v square is equal to u square plus 2as. Okay, so now let's compare. In the first equation, if you want to use this equation, there should be only one quantity which is not known. If there are two quantities not known, you cannot use that equation. So let's find out. Here we know the u, we know the acceleration, and we know the time. So these things we know. So you can use this equation to find out v. Okay. Similarly, in this second equation, we know the initial speed, u is known, then time is also known, acceleration and time. So everything here is known. So you can use the second equation to find out the distance. But can we use the third equation? So just looking at these quantities, we don't know what is v. We know the u, but again we don't know the s. So in this case, we have two things which are unknown. The v and s, these two are unknown. So you cannot use the third equation straight away. First, we find out what is the value of v. Once we get the value of v, then we can use the third equation. Clear, Bimla? Understood? Clear, everyone? Any questions, any doubts? If not, let's go to the next question. Solve this. Hi gamer. Alright. Now read the question. Train is traveling at the speed of this much. Then the brakes are applied to produce a uniform acceleration of this much. So again read it carefully. The brakes are applied. When you apply the brakes, object will slow down. So this is a retardation. This uniform acceleration is nothing but retardation. So that means object will slow down and the value should be minus. The value of the acceleration should be negative. Okay. So find how far the train will go before it is brought to rest. Hi gamer, you're new. Alright. Welcome. Pay attention. If you can't understand, let me know. So here again, let's write down what are the known terms. What is known? This is the initial speed. So u is given as 90 kilometers per hour. Correct? So acceleration is given. How much? 0.5 minus 0.5 meter per second square. Is there anything which is given in this question? Any other quantity which is given there, hidden somewhere? Read this. Train will brought to rest. Brought to rest. So what is the meaning of that? It means the final speed or the final velocity is 0. So v is 0. Okay. Yes, nice. Abhimanshu, velocity is 120 meter per second. Nice, Divyansh. V is 0. Correct. Sanchit and Pallavi. Yes, correct. So we want to calculate how far train will go. That means the distance. We want to find out what is the distance. But before we start solving, this kilometer per hour, this is not the SI unit. So we need to convert it. How will you convert? So multiply this by 5 by 18. Just multiply by 5 by 18 and directly you will get meters per second. So what should be the answer? Here 18 into 5 is 90. So 5 into 5 is 25. So the initial velocity is 25 meters per second. So now we just have to find out what is S, the distance. So we know the, okay, now we want to find the S. So which equation can you use? Can you use the second equation or the third equation? Tell me. Nice, Sanchit. Can we use second equation or third equation? I'll write down both the equation. This is the second equation. S is equal to ut plus half at square, and third equation is v square u square plus 2as. So in the second equation there is a time. There is a time term. We don't know the time. So we cannot use the second equation. We have to use the third equation only, no other choice. Okay. So let's use that. So what is v? V is given as 0. What is u? U is 25. So 25 whole square plus, what is acceleration? Minus 0.5. So it is 2 times minus 0.5 multiplied by distance. Yes. So what is this? 0 is equal to 25 square is 625. What is 2 into 0.5? 0.5 is nothing but half. 1 by 2 multiplied by 2 is 1. So that is minus 1 into s. Take this s to other side. So distance is 625 meters. Clear? Easy? So how many of you feel these equations of motion are very easy to solve? You can solve all kind of questions. Does anyone feel that? Okay, let's solve. Easy, right? Nice. Great, Gamer and Divyansh. Solve this question. Next one. So we have a trolley. It is going down inclined plane. You know what is inclined plane? Something like this. There is an inclined plane. There is a trolley here. So it is moving downwards. So it has an acceleration of 2 centimeter per second square. Yes, sure, Sanchit. What you can do is after this class, once the class is over, put it in the comments. I'll solve it and I'll comment on the same thing, okay? Or else, like, you can type in the chat. We can solve it together. Yeah, you can just type in the chat. I'll solve it. So what will be the velocity after 3 seconds after the start? Your name is also Divyansh. Nice. Great. So what are the given terms? The acceleration is given as 2 centimeter per second square. Okay. So what will be the velocity after 3 seconds? So time is 3 seconds. We want to find out what is the velocity, final velocity. Is there any other term which is given here? You are getting confused? Pallavi, it needs a lot of practice. Maybe right now, if you are doing this for the first time, if you are seeing all these equations for the first time, then it is very confusing. Even I got confused when I was at your age. But I did a lot of practice. I solved, I don't know, like 40, 50 questions from different sources. Solve as many questions as possible. Then if you can solve as many questions as possible, then you won't get confused. That is the only rule I can say. Okay, so here it is given after the start. It is written after the start. That means this trolley is just starting. If it is just starting, that means the initial velocity is 0. So we want to find out what is the final velocity. How will you solve? Yes, nice, Sudarshan. Awesome. Yes, Divyansh, correct. So here we can write V is equal to U plus A T. But remember, this is not the SI unit. So if something is not SI unit, what I will do is I'll write the units. So just look at here how I am solving this. So what is V? V is U is 0. U is 0 plus acceleration, which is 2 centimeter per second square. So I'll write down 2 centimeter divided by second square. Per second square is nothing but centimeter by second square. This is our acceleration. Correct? This is multiplied by time, which is 3 seconds. Multiplied by 3 seconds. So now you can remove one S. Everything else you conserve. So what should be the answer? V is equal to this 0. So you ignore. So 2 into 3, which is 6 centimeters per second. So this is the final velocity. See, you have done it wrong. Your units are wrong. Abhiyanshu and Divyansh. This is centimeter per second, not meter per second. Okay? It is not meter per second, Shubham. The answer is in centimeters per second. Alright. Let's pay attention to the units. Units are very important. Let's go to the next question. Nice, Divyansh. A racing car has a uniform acceleration of this much. What distance will it cover in 10 seconds after start? After start. So how will you solve? Okay, Abhiyansh. Okay, Sanchit, you solve this question until I read the other question by Sanchit. Okay, Sanchit. After this question, we'll solve that question. Do you feel physics as easy? Yeah, physics is very easy. Okay, let's solve this. Sanjit, I'll solve your question after this, okay? A racing car has uniform acceleration. I'll write down acceleration is 4 meter per second square. Distance is, time is 10 seconds. And after start, that is initial velocity is 0. So we want to find out what is the distance s. How will you calculate? We can use the second equation. S is equal to ut plus half a t square. What is u? U is 0. So first term is 0 plus 1 by 2. Acceleration is 4 multiplied by time. Time is 10. 10 square. So what should be the answer? How did you get 400, all of you? Divyansh and Abhiyanshu. So this is how much it is? 0 plus something, which is 4 divided by 2 is 2 multiplied by 10 square, which is 100. So that would be 200 meters. There is a distance traveled. Correct, Nag. Nice. So I'll read one question given by Sanchit. We solve that question. Okay, this question is easy, right? You can solve it now. There is another question by Sanchit. Sanchit, right? I'll explain the question first. A body passes a point A and B. So let's suppose this is point A and this point B here. 20 meter per second and 30 meter per second. So this is at B it is 20 meters per second. At A it is 20 meter per second. At B it is 30 meters per second. Okay. What will be the velocity midpoint? So there is a midpoint here, somewhere here. There is a midpoint. Let's call it as point M. At the midpoint A and B. The acceleration is uniform, so acceleration here is constant. Uniform. The positions are and the options are. Alright. So here there is a midpoint. That means if the total distance is, let's suppose the total distance is 2 times s. Let's suppose this total distance is 2 times s. So this is s distance. This is also s distance. Correct? At this point, let's suppose the object has some velocity v0. Yes? Is it correct? Can I write something like this? So now, what we can do, we don't know time. Time we don't know. So we cannot use the first and the second equation, but we can use the third equation. So what is third equation? V square is equal to u square plus 2 times a into s. Correct? We can use third equation. We know the acceleration, it is constant. Even though we don't know the final value, we know acceleration is constant. Now, in the first half, from A to M, this will be the initial velocity. Okay, I'll remove some of the part here. I'll remove this so that I can write here. So, in this part from AM, what is the initial velocity? Initial velocity is 20 meter per second square, meter per second. Final velocity is v0, right? Acceleration is a and distance is s. In this part A to M, from M to B, the initial velocity is v0. Then the final velocity is 30 meter per second. And again A, acceleration is same, even the distance is same. So now we can use the third equation of motion. This is the third equation of motion. Use it. So from here, what I can say is v square minus u square, it is 2 times a into s. But in these two half, this is the constant. This quantity is the constant. If the right hand side is constant, that means the left hand side should also be the constant, right? Right hand side is same, so left hand side should be the same. So now we can directly solve this using, this is the, for this AM part I can say the final velocity is V0 square minus the initial velocity, which is 20 square. This should be equal to 2 times AS, and this should be equal to the final velocity here, which is 30 square minus the initial velocity, which is V0 square. Okay, so now you can remove the middle term, you can remove this and you can equate these two. So what you get, take this V0 square to the there is the left side, so 2 times V0 square is 30 square minus 20 square. What is 30 square? It is 900. What is 20 square? It is 400, which is nothing but 500. But what is this? 2 times V0 square. So what is V0 square? V0 square is 500 divided by 2, which is 225. Correct? So what is the square root of 225? Yeah, that is how you can find out the value. Okay? Who asked this question? Sanchit? Understood? Alright, solve the next question. Yeah, okay, sorry, my mistake. Here, this is not 225, it is, sorry, 250. 500 divided by 2 is 250. So just take the square root of V0, so you will get the answer. Alright. Okay, solve this question. So the ball is dropped from a height of 20 meters. So let's suppose there is a height of 20 meters here, and from here the ball is dropped. Its velocity increases uniformly at this rate. So what is this? This is the acceleration in the downward direction, which is 10 meter per second square. So what will the velocity when it strikes the ground? So let's suppose the ball is dropped from here, the initial velocity is 0. So we want to find out the velocity when it strikes the ground. So what is the final velocity? The distance is the height of this tower, which is 20 meters. So find out what is the final velocity. How will you find out? So let's calculate. Here you can use a third equation. So it is V square is U square plus 2 times A into S. What is U? U is 0 plus 2 times A, which is 10, into S, which is 20. So which is 20 into 2 is 40 into 10, which is 400. So V square is 400, V is 20 meters per second. This is the final velocity, correct? Clear? Let's go to the next question. Solve this. I think last 1 or 2 questions. Stone is thrown vertically upward. So let's suppose the stone is thrown in the upward direction. Velocity of 5 meter per second. So this is the initial velocity. Initial velocity is 5 meters per second. If the acceleration is 10 meter per second, but in the downward direction. So velocity is in the upward direction, but the acceleration is downwards. That means this acceleration will oppose the motion. So this acceleration is negative, minus 10 meter per second square. Okay. So what will be the height attained by the stone, and how much time will it take to reach this height? So what will happen, this ball, this stone will go to the maximum height. It will go up. Excuse me. Excuse me, sorry. So what will happen, the stone will go up and finally it will stop. So final velocity will be 0. So it will go to the maximum height and it will stop. Then it will come down again. So in this motion, in the upward motion, we want to find out the time and the what is this height, that is this distance we want to calculate. How will you find? Solve. 20 meter per second. How did you get 20 meter per second? It is going upward. So velocity will reduce. At the top end, velocity is minimum. Okay. How will I remember the equations? You solve as many questions as possible. Solve them multiple times. Solve same numerical like 2-3 times. Then you will just remember them. If you try to remember by hard force, it would be very difficult. Just solve it. I mean, solve as many questions as possible. That is the only way, I guess. So let's use the first equation. V is equal to u plus at. Final velocity is 0. Initial velocity is 5. Acceleration is acceleration is minus 10. Acceleration is minus 10 multiplied by what is time? Okay, time we need to calculate. So what is the time? So this is 10 times t will be equal to 5. So time is 5 divided by 10, which is 0.5 seconds. So this is the time. Okay. How much time it will take? Just 0.5 seconds to reach the maximum height. So now we want to calculate what is the distance. So how will you find out the distance? We can use the third equation. You can use any equation, second or third. Let's use the third equation. It says that v square is equal to u square plus 2 times a into s. What is v? V is 0. Is equal to u. What is u? U is 5 square, which is 25, plus what is 2? A is minus 10 into s. So that would be, so 0 is equal to 25. What is this? Minus 20 times s. So take this minus 20 to other side. So this is, s will be 25 divided by 20. So that is nothing but 1.25 meters. This will be the s value. Is it clear? Any questions? I think I made a mistake in the earlier question. In this one, let's just check here. I'll write down again from, just a minute. Okay, here you see this, there is a v square, there is minus v square. If I take this to this side, 2 times v0 square. But this 30 square, this is minus 20. If I take it to other side, it will become plus 20 square. Okay, so here this is 900 plus 400, which is how much? 1300, right? 1300. So this is 2 times V0 square. Correct? 9 plus 4 is 13. So from here, what I can write is V0 square is 1300 by 2, which is 650. So take the V0 is square root of 650. This much meter per second. There was a mistake that I got here 500 because I did a mistake. I put this as a minus. Okay. Yeah, it is just do the square root. Whatever it comes, that would be your answer. Okay, Sanchit? Alright, so now this is your homework question. Solve this question. We'll solve it in the next class. Okay? So that's it for today. Thank you so much everyone for your patience. Change in the speed. Yes, that is correct, Mukesh Sahu. Change in the speed is called as acceleration. That is absolutely correct. Any other doubts? Any other questions, anyone? Use law of conservation of energy. No, right now we don't use the law of conservation of energy. There is a chapter work, power, energy. In that we'll solve the questions on law of conservation of energy, not now. How to prepare for IIT? So right now you are in grade 9th, right? So what I will suggest you to do is I'll tell you the journey, how it should happen. You are in grade 9th right now. So for grade 9 students, grade 9, not grade 9 students. So what you should do is first solve your NCERT, then exemplar. If you do it, if you complete your exemplar, then there is a book called as H.C. Verma for grade 9 and 10. H.C. Verma Foundation or something, H.C. Verma Foundation, I guess, this foundation. If you do this is quite easy, not that difficult. The 11th grade H.C. Verma is difficult, but this for 9th and 10th, it is quite easy. After that, there is another book called as Pearson publication for foundation. Do this, and if you find even this one also easy, then I'll suggest you to do for grade 11 and 12 either NCERT or H.C. Verma. So this is like a difficulty level. If you do this first, complete this first, then go to the exemplar for your grade 9. If this is also okay, the questions are very easy, go to here, solve the questions from here. If you could solve this, go to the next level, this Pearson. If you can do this as well, if you find this one also very easy, then solve the NCERT for 11th and 12th. For 9th, you should focus on grade 11. When you go to grade 10, that is related directly to grade 12, and then solve the H.C. Verma, the proper ones, the 2 books which you have for H.C. Verma, solve those, and that is how you go towards the IIT. Okay. It is fine to study. Yes, you should study. If you are in grade 9, I used to do that. Like I had NCERT books of grade 11th and 12th when I was at grade 8th. So start from grade 8 only. Get NCERT books of 11th and 12th. Those are really beautiful books. If you are good at maths and physics, then just start solving the numericals. If you are not that good at maths, then what you should do is, at least for the physics, learn the concepts, read through it, understand the meaning of the concept, understand meaning of every equation. Okay, and if you are good at biology, then like you can go to that part towards the medical path, which is PCB. If you are good at maths, then PCM, which is towards engineering. Alright, so that's it for today. When is the next class? For me, I think this week I don't have any grade 9 class, probably next week. So see you again in the next week. Bye bye everyone. IIT is best? Yes. Depends on how good you are in maths. Alright everyone, bye bye. Take care. How to improve memory power? Solve the numericals, as many questions as possible. Solve those. If you can solve maximum questions, you don't have to memorize everything. All these things, they will automatically come. Okay. So bye bye everyone. Take care. Enjoy.